Multi-layered maps? We hear you! Developer discussion 620. Finally, multi-layered maps. Alright, let's see what plans they have for the future, and let's see what they plan to bring, how soon. There's a lot of things they could implement that would make Genshin a lot better, and there's a lot of things from even like Star Rail, which in its inception and like initial release still had a lot of features that was better than what Genshin's had. So let's see what they talk about in this developer letter. Dear Traveler, the newest developer discussion has arrived. Okay. Discover and explore some underground regions, and they actually give an example of the underground maps. Wow. We will introduce multi-layered map function in version 4.0. Now, everyone can use the map to gain more concise details regarding whether they are in a new or unlocked area. Certain areas might be complex and terrain encompass multiple layers. I like this because the underground area does have like multiple layers underground too, so it kind of shows you like, okay, this underground and there's this one here. This teleport is going to an underground area as well. I like that a lot. This is under development and not indicative of the final product. I mean, it still looks pretty good. And as long as they show like the layers, because you can go like 2 or 3 layers deep on some of these underground maps, I think that would be fine. The developers are also following up on the overall experience offered by the quest system. First, we would like to share with everyone optimizes for version 3.8. Ooh, so this in 2 weeks, this optimization is going to come out. Quest tracking. When objective is a certain distance from the traveler's current position, they can click navigate and map and orient themselves. I don't see how this is different. What's going on? That's showing this. Okay, click and then navigate. Doesn't it already do this? It doesn't automatically do that? Oh, it moved the map instead of moving us. Oh! It just showed the general direction. Ah. Well, that seems much more useful. If you hit navigate, it'll just be like, oh, it's like 1,000 kilometers away. And so now it'll actually move the map to where you're supposed to go, so you can teleport to the nearest area if you want to. Persistent tracking support for daily commissions. After 3.8, trackers will automatically track their commission quests based on distance. So it's just like an auto-navigate. That's kind of nice. When the Hangout events come to an end, you'll gain the review invitation button and Hangout menu, which will allow you to view the narrative checkpoints. Oh, I mean, that's kind of useful. Their internal discussions make replayable events from 5.0 onward, so players who have missed events in their account creation can replay this. They should do what Honkai does, make the events replayable with the rewards like obtainable, but make the Primo Gem count that you get from the awards less. So there's still an incentive to do it during the time, but like the overall rewards, the Primo Gems, the Mora, the Hero's Wit, anything else, reduce the amount that you get from those, but just make the events replayable so you can get like the weapon and like the refinements or something like that. Menu display optimizations, adjusted sorting rules for certain quests, optimize how red dots are displayed. Okay. Aside from the coming optimizations, the concern that everyone mentioned regarding the quest characters being occupied at complexity, prerequisite quests, completion priority have been noted by the development team. Currently discussing necessary optimization plans. We would like to first share our thoughts with everyone. Yeah, I hope they remove the, oh, you have to complete this quest first. That's so annoying. Quest menu to help travelers resolve their occupied quests. Why not just make it so we don't have to complete a prerequisite quest if another character is involved in a story? Instead of like, oh, you have to complete this leg of this quest, and now you can do this part. Oh, but you actually have to complete this other leg of this quest. Like if you do the Archon quest, like the last major Archon quest with like all the characters, it's like you had to do the Nilou story quest, and then Tanari, and then like a bunch of other story quests before you could like go past a certain point. And it said like, oh, do this Tanari story quest. Like, alright, I did this. Okay, good. Now you go up. It's like, nope, now you have to do the Nilou story quest. I'm like, ugh. You notice that travelers may unlock a multiple story quests currently to use up their story keys. Yup. Resulting in buildup of quests and creating interconnected preoccupations between them. Yup, definitely do that. To deal with the situation, developers plan to separate unlocking and accepting sections of story quests in 2 steps. Oh, that would actually be very helpful. If you could just unlock them, but you don't have to accept or start them. no longer automatically accept them, thereby preventing travelers from wasting any keys while preventing their inner quest congestion. Yeah, that's a good change. That should have been something that was implemented a long time ago, especially with the more interconnected story quests between like the Archon quest, which sometimes you have to do if you want to do a certain event, or if you want to do certain other time limited things and you need to get to a certain point, but it also requires you to do story quests. And if you feel like you have to rush those and not take your time to enjoy them, that feels pretty bad. So I'm glad this is being implemented, and I hope it gets like implemented very soon. Request and map system optimizations to announce for now. Not long ago, the Divine Ingenuity Collector's Chapter event was released. During this time, we also discovered many interesting custom domains created by the community. Also heard the calls for the making time-limited events permanent. Here we would like to make the opportunity to chat with everyone regarding our thoughts about permanent gameplay modes. For certain gameplay events, the development team has already considered the possibility of making them permanent fixtures during the inception of their development. However, based on our evaluation, certain gameplay events are not fleshed out enough in terms of content to support long-term gameplay. We will combine the feedback from our travelers regarding event gameplay in future iterations and release new permanent gameplay options at the right time. In the future, the development team will continue to plan more permanent content. We hope to bring more interesting experience to our travelers. That's all for the developer discussion. You have anything else you want to learn about? Blah, blah, blah. When are they going to do something like make weekly bosses cost no resin, or add like a dark mode, or like something so if you switch off a character, you know if their skill cooldown is up, or fixing a lot of the things in co-op, or a lot of the other things people have been asking for forever, unlocking like frame rates on PC, just a bunch of other stuff. Also, this last paragraph here, like, making time limit events permanent, and they say, developers have already considered this, but based on our evaluation, certain gameplay events are not fleshed out enough in terms of content to support the long-term gameplay experience for everyone. That's a very like corporate political speak way of saying it's not happening. When I read this, I'm like, okay, they're not going to make anything permanent. And the fact that they say we will combine the feedback from blah 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 for future iterations and will release new permanent gameplay content options at the right time. You know what I read when I read this? It means that they're going to do more stuff for the teapot, and they're going to do something like a new system for reputation in like Sumeru, and they're essentially going to make iterations of permanent content we already have, and they're going to release them on the same schedule. When I see this, I don't think like they're actually working on anything new for permanent content. It seems like they're just going to do the same thing with like a new flavor in a new region. So I don't think they're going to make any of the events permanent. It would be really nice if they did. And like I mentioned before, I think what they should do is take a page out of like Honkai Star Rail's book and make like limited weapons or things you can't get outside of the limited events. Just make it so you can do the events, but like the amount of Primo Gems and Mora and experience books and other like resources you get are significantly reduced. So you get essentially the things from the event, like the main flagship item, like the weapon that you could never get before, and then you can get that so newer players are not like stuck without some of these really good weapons like the Festering Desire or something like that. And then they're not getting the major like amounts of Primo Gems that people who played the event when it was live could get, so you're still incentivized to do it during that time. But if you still can get a reward because you missed an event, you don't feel like you're 100% missing out. I think that would be a really good move for them to do. And they don't necessarily have to do them all at, you know, they can gate it so you don't have to do all of them at once. They could gate it by adventure rank, by doing certain Archon quests, by meeting certain story quests. And so that way you could have like a few events here and there and feel like you have plenty of content to do as well. The weapon thing is more than a limited edition items that not everyone can have. I guess but I still think it's not exactly a good design for like player retention. About how we're a science experiment, tolerated everything before, so Hoyo doesn't care what we want anymore. Oh, interesting.